Hi everyone, my name is Sinum and welcome to this laptop review of the Acer Nitro V17. So, first of all we want to talk about the packaging, and here we have it. As you can see, mine is a little bit damaged, but that's not too bad because actually it ships very good. Acer has done an extremely good job in protecting this laptop while shipping, and if you take a closer look at that, there we go. It's just on all four corners there's a lot of foam protecting the inner shell of this inner cardboard where the laptop is placed in, so there's hardly any way for it to be damaged while shipping. And aside from the laptop, what do you get within the box? You get a lot of first of all, this beautiful paper casing, and in there we have quick start manual, guarantee and installation guide, drives and stuff, and you know, the big manual that no one does read whatsoever. So that's it for the box, and now let's actually look at the piece that is placed inside of it. This thing. Yeah, it's actually a little bit too big, but there we go. It's a 17-inch model. It's from Acer. It's beautifully designed, and as you can see, it has this riffled top here. Here it's scratching. On the back, it has a matte finish with 4 feet on each corner, and it's really easy to open up. Another video coming soon. If you're seeing this on the day it's released, probably on the 19th. On the 20th, there will be the opening guide for this one. Apart from the bottom surface, every single surface is a fingerprint magnet. The inside in here, you see every little fingerprint, especially on the corners of the display, on the bezels, and on the top side too. So, if you really want to have a laptop clean all the time, be prepared to take a cloth with you wherever you go. And actually it's really for design. Now to the keyboard. The keyboard on the Acer V17 Nitro does feel very good while typing. But in the end you have to get used to it a lot because it is a very small keyboard for a 17-inch laptop. On both sides there are at least 4 centimeters of free space. This is due to the I/O, because for a 17-inch laptop, it is relatively thin. It is not the thinnest because of its relatively cheap price with its specs. So they had to cut corners somewhere. And on the sides, it's only 1.5 centimeters to 1 centimeter thick. And they had to push up the I/O from the sides a little bit, so that they achieve these 1.5 centimeters or 1 centimeters on the side. Also, the keyboard does have a red backlight, so if no RGB here. In my opinion, I don't really need RGB on my keyboard. I just need a backlight to see the keys, and that's really what I'm going for in keyboards. Then the touchpad, it really surprised me how good the touchpad actually feels. When you're just normally casually using it, you're not sticking anywhere. It's not smooth, it's just perfect. It's rigid enough for your finger not to have any fingerprints. By the way, that's the most anti-fingerprint surface on this whole laptop, the touchpad. And also, nice little gimmick, this laptop does have a fingerprint sensor, which is very good in my opinion. It usually takes, in most cases it takes up to 2 tries, so just tap it twice and it works for me. Then to the display. My configuration has a 1080p display, standard 60Hz IPS panel. Nothing too special. The colors are good, not as good as on my $1,000 Acer monitor, but what do you expect from a $1,400 laptop? They're, I think, accurate enough to do some basic Photoshop or color grading with it, but nothing too professional. If you want to get the most out of it, I'm pretty sure you can achieve this by buying extra color calibration modules, and if you're a real pro at it, you definitely gonna squeeze out a lot more color. But in my opinion, the colors are very good, very vibrant. The viewing angle of the display is perfect, standard for an IPS panel though, and haven't had any other problems with it. And now for I/O. On the right hand side we have 2 USB 3.0 connectors, a USB-C connector, a standard HDMI output port, a gigabit Ethernet connector, and 1 power connector. And on the left hand side we have an SD card reader, headphone jacks, 2 USB 2.0 connectors, and a Kensington lock. And now to the specs. So my model came with 8GB of RAM, a GTX 1060, a 1080p display as I already talked about, and a 1TB hard drive. So, but there are a lot of different configurations online and that you can buy in different stores with more RAM, different GPUs and other processors. An i7-7700HQ. But yeah, just read what's displayed on the product page and you're gonna get the right model. Then for battery life, I did a few tests for battery life, no real numbers, so don't really know how to test my battery life with tools yet. So I just used the laptop without a battery, and I've never run into a situation where I had to use it longer than I needed it to without it dying before I was done. And so playing games, I played Witcher 3 for about an hour, not a full hour, shortcut of an hour, and then the laptop ran out of battery. But when you're watching only videos and standard browsing, you're gonna get a lot longer than that. I also played Witcher 3 on medium display brightness, so not on full, not on completely low. So if you want to get the most out of it, go into battery saver mode, turn down the display brightness to its lowest level, and you're gonna get the most out of it. And if you're careful, you're probably gonna get the advertised 6 hours, but that's in the least cases. And one very interesting thing that I found out is the Acer, the laptop is preserving power when it's unplugged by actually reducing the display frame rate to 30 FPS, so that you're only displaying half of the frames. It's a very weird feature and I haven't really figured out how to turn it off yet, because sometimes it is annoying, but in the end it is a really good idea to cut down on the frame rate, because that's gonna save a lot of battery, because the GPU consumes less, the CPU and the display, because the display actually uses the most power out of all of your components. And then one special note for the hard drive. My model was with only 1TB hard drive without an SSD, and in this day and age, one hard drive for your system drive isn't really enough anymore. It's just really slow, and it bugged me so much that I installed a 2TB Barracuda. Again, in my opening guide of this laptop, I did all of that already. Then for game performance, again, I played Witcher 3 plugged in and off, so performance on it doesn't really cut on gaming performance when it's not plugged in, so you're roughly gonna get the same performance. But when it's plugged in, the GPU actually did a relatively decent overclock for a laptop GPU on it. I dialed in a little bit, about 150 megahertz plus and 110 for the GPU memory. So yeah, decent for a laptop, but I wouldn't go any higher, because then after an hour or two it just crashed. And overall gaming performance is great. Somehow Nidhogg 1 runs like a piece of garbage. I don't know why, because it runs Witcher 3 in almost ultra with almost 60 FPS, so I dialed it back to medium and I ran 60 FPS all the way. Actually high. There's medium, high and ultra, and I just used the standard high settings and I almost achieved the 60 FPS. So on a medium it was perfect 60 FPS. And also in other games like Arma, I had no problem whatsoever. Sometimes on Payday 2 though, when there were too many enemies, it jumped down to 30, what was really weird to me, because it did armor and Witcher like a champ, so don't really know what's going on there. But then again, Payday 2 is a relatively old game, even before the GPU released. Then I read on Amazon that some people are complaining about the fan noise. That's probably due to them not installing the drivers correctly. I also had the problem in the beginning. Then I just uninstalled drivers and did a thing. By the way, here's a video about driver fixes for laptops. Yeah, I did a lot of videos about this laptop. And yeah, after I did that, it just worked perfectly and the fans are hardly noticeable to hear. So if you're just browsing and watching videos without any headphones or so, you're not gonna hear the fans too present. As you've probably noticed, this laptop doesn't have an eye tracking camera, but I think it's extremely useless. It just uses about 15% of your CPU power, even if it's just idling and tracking your eyes. So when I installed a new OS and the new hard drive, I didn't even bother to install the eye tracking software because it was just using up performance for, well, hardly any gain. You can enable some interesting gimmicks, like when you're looking at some point on the display and then you're moving your mouse moves there. And the eye tracking camera does work really well, but then again, it's just useless. It's a nice gimmick, but in my opinion, it's useless. It uses up way too much performance. Then in the end, my personal opinion of this machine. I really like it. It's a 17-inch laptop with a decent 1080p display. It has very good performance all across the board, except, well, the hard drive that I changed, but if you get a model with an M.2 drive, you're not gonna have these problems whatsoever. And in the end, it's just a decent machine, and for being one of the cheapest GTX 1060 17.3-inch 1080p laptops, you're not gonna get anything better. I've looked around Amazon, there's a similarly spec'd Asus competitor, but in, well, at least in Amazon Germany, it has an i7 6700K and an even worse it actually has an SSD for the same price. But what I really like about this laptop is that the display is up really high from its base, so the bezels are, yes, the bezels are very thick, but I actually prefer it that way because then the display is lifted up a little bit and it's easier to watch content. The display is also matte, which, well, reduces reflection a lot. It's basically the new standard on all displays. And in the end, the keyboard's not too loud. It's just decent across the board. You can basically do everything with it. I rendered some videos. I tested its gaming performance. And as I said, if you have that kind of money to spend on a laptop and if you feel like you need a gaming laptop, because yes, now we're in the age where you can actually say gaming laptop, because before the 10 series, every laptop was just, with the gaming GPU, was just a cut down version and it couldn't really compare to its full-blown competitor. But now we're just gonna get full-size cards in laptops, and that is really amazing. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you found it very informative. If you're looking for benchmarks of this laptop, I'm gonna leave some in the description, because benchmarking is the worst thing you can do ever, because it just takes up so much time to do. And in my opinion, if you're watching benchmarks, it's better to watch benchmark only videos. So thank you everybody for watching. I hope you have a really nice day. Bye.